Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan have agreed to sign a joint defense deal amid ongoing regional instability that includes conflicts in several neighboring countries. This is Omni View, episode 136. The three governments reached the agreement after discussions on shared security priorities. Officials coordinated the timing to address immediate pressures in their respective neighborhoods. Reuters reported the development as a coordinated move by the three capitals. The pact is expected to be formalized in the near term. Reuters frames the agreement as a practical response to shared security concerns in a turbulent area. The reporting emphasizes the timing with existing tensions rather than speculating on long-term effects. Turkish and Pakistani officials have historically valued defense cooperation for protecting trade routes and borders. Saudi Arabia has sought additional partners beyond traditional alliances. Observers note that such agreements often include training, equipment, and intelligence elements. The precise terms remain under negotiation. Reuters highlights the involvement of three distinct governments, each bringing different geographic and strategic priorities to the table. The coverage avoids projecting outcomes beyond the immediate announcement of the signing. What happens next is the formal signing itself, which will set the stage for further talks on implementation. Shifting now to a story from the conflict in Ukraine. Ukrainian forces carried out drone attacks on multiple wild berries facilities inside Russia. The strikes hit around 20 sites. They caused fires and reduced storage and delivery capacity at the country's largest e-commerce company. Reuters documented the damage to the company's distribution network. The attacks occurred during a series of near-nightly operations. Sales at the retailer have fallen as a direct result of the lost storage space. The logistics network spanning many regions inside Russia experienced repeated interruptions. Reuters presents the attacks as part of Ukraine's broader campaign against Russian economic infrastructure. The coverage notes that wild berries plays a central role in domestic retail and employment. Russian authorities have described such strikes as targeting civilian commerce. Ukrainian statements frame them as responses to Russian military logistics. The pattern of nightly attacks has continued despite earlier warnings about economic disruption. Reuters records the specific impact on approximately 20 locations and the resulting fires that damaged warehouses. The reporting connects the strikes to ongoing pressure on commercial operations that support daily economic activity across Russia. Next, trade data from China. Chinese exports rose more slowly in July than in the previous month. Demand remained firm for electronics and vehicles, yet overall growth moderated. The Associated Press reported the figures from official trade data. The slowdown occurred even as shipments of high-tech products stayed robust. Import figures for certain commodities showed steadier patterns during the same period. The Associated Press links the slowdown to softer global demand in some sectors, even as high-tech categories held up. Chinese officials have pointed to continued strength in vehicle and electronic shipments as evidence of industrial upgrading. Trading partners track these numbers closely because they influence supply chains and pricing worldwide. The data also showed steady imports of certain commodities. The Associated Press notes that the monthly comparison reveals a modest deceleration rather than a sharp reversal. The reporting places the July numbers in the context of ongoing global trade flows. Meanwhile, rail services faced major disruption in England. A power outage stopped train operations in the Midlands and northwest of England. Operators cancelled or delayed services on multiple lines. BBC News reported widespread disruption for commuters and freight. The failure affected both passenger timetables and goods movement on key routes. Restoration efforts began immediately after the outage was identified. Commuters encountered extended journey times and had to arrange alternative travel. BBC News describes the incident as affecting both passenger and goods movement on a busy network. Rail authorities have begun restoring power while investigating the cause. Passengers faced extended waits and alternative transport arrangements. The event highlights the interdependence of electricity supply and daily transport reliability. BBC News provides live updates on the specific corridors impacted in the Midlands and Northwest regions. The coverage emphasizes the scale of the disruption across a densely used section of the national rail system. Turning to markets, trading volumes and price movements continued at normal levels in major financial centers. Reuters noted that typical seasonal quiet has not materialized this year. Investors are monitoring several policy and geopolitical signals. Activity persisted across equities, currencies, and commodities without the usual slowdown. Market participants maintained positions rather than scaling back for the summer months. Reuters tracked the absence of the expected lull in daily turnover. Reuters attributes the sustained activity to overlapping developments in trade policy and corporate earnings. Market participants appear focused on upcoming data releases rather than reducing positions. The pattern differs from some previous summers when activity dropped more sharply. Reuters records that investors continued to respond to a combination of policy announcements and earnings reports. The coverage notes the contrast with historical summer patterns in global trading hubs. In legal news, a New Mexico court directed Meta to pay $567 million in the second phase of a trial concerning harms to young users. The company had already lost the first phase in March. The Associated Press covered the ruling. The payment addresses claims related to platform effects on youth mental health. Meta indicated it would examine the decision while continuing safety measures. The case forms part of wider regulatory scrutiny of social media companies in several jurisdictions. The Associated Press reports the payment addresses specific claims about platform effects on youth mental health. Meta has stated it will review the decision while continuing to implement safety features. The Associated Press notes the $567 million figure as the outcome of the second phase following the March loss. The reporting connects the ruling to ongoing legal proceedings in multiple locations. Now, some progress worth knowing about. The European Commission signed a contract to enlarge the IRIS-2 satellite constellation. The project aims to improve secure communications across member states. Reuters recorded the formal agreement. The expansion is intended to strengthen European space-based infrastructure for government and commercial use. The contract represents a defined milestone in the multi-year program. Further milestones on costs and timelines are still ahead. Reuters presents the step as concrete progress on a long-planned European space infrastructure program. The constellation is intended to reduce reliance on non-European providers for government and commercial links. Costs and timelines remain subject to further milestones, yet the contract signing marks a defined advance in deployment. Reuters emphasizes the formal nature of the agreement as evidence of steady advancement in the IRIS-2 project. The coverage places the contract within the broader European effort to develop independent satellite capabilities. Now, to really understand this story, there is something most coverage leaves out. Most coverage of new defense agreements assumes they instantly create unified command structures, yet the reality is more incremental. Governments usually begin with memoranda that outline areas of cooperation such as joint training, intelligence sharing, and equipment standards before any binding commitments are made. These steps allow each country to retain control over its own forces while testing practical compatibility. Historical examples from NATO's early decades and later Gulf Cooperation Council arrangements show that full operational integration often takes years and repeated exercises. The process typically starts with bilateral talks that expand into trilateral formats only after initial confidence-building measures succeed. Each participating government must still secure domestic legislative approval for any resource commitments, which adds further time between announcement and implementation. Knowing this, when you hear claims that a single signing immediately shifts the regional balance, you can check whether the text actually specifies command arrangements or merely lists future talks. The detail worth watching next is whether the three capitals publish the agreement's annexes on specific equipment or training programs within the coming months. Public statements from defense ministries in each country often reveal the sequence of next steps more clearly than initial joint communiques. Comparing the eventual published text against earlier bilateral defense pacts signed by the same nations provides a concrete benchmark for measuring progress. If you want to go deeper on the Defense Pact, compare how Reuters and official government statements from the three capitals are framing the scope of cooperation. Tomorrow, watch for whether the three capitals publish the agreement's annexes on specific equipment or training programs. That's Omni view. The news can feel heavy, but understanding what's actually happening and what's being done about it beats doom scrolling every time. Stay curious, pick one story from today and read it from a second outlet you don't usually open. If balanced perspectives are valuable to you, share this with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow, and if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nara Network, links in the show notes. And before you go, this show is part of the Nara Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets, each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen. Tesla Shorts Time, your daily deep dive into everything Tesla. Find every show free at naranetwork.com. The age of AI puts real builders on the phone with an AI host. Apply at naranetwork.com. Age of AI apply. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.